The lights were warm, the studio buzzing with energy, and the intro jingle had just faded when the camera panned to the sleek, velvet-accented stage. Kelly Clarkson, America's beloved voice-turned-host, welcomed the audience with her signature charm. But tonight wasn't going to be one of those cheerful celebrity chats. Meghan Markle walked in, grace perfected, or rehearsed. The audience applauded politely, some excited, others unsure. Rumors had swirled for days. Meghan's going on Kelly? Is this a PR push? Another truth tour? Kelly stood up to greet her, smile intact, but something in her eyes didn't match her lips. There was caution. Meghan's hug was brief, her body language poised but stiff. And then, the first jab. "So Meghan," Kelly began lightly, crossing one leg over the other. "No tiara today." The crowd chuckled. Meghan's eyes narrowed, the smile on her face strained. "I left the crown at home, Kelly. Thought I'd try being relatable today." A pause. Kelly raised an eyebrow. "Just today?" Gasps, a few nervous laughs. Meghan's composure cracked for half a second, but she smoothed it back like a hair out of place. The air thickened. Behind the curtains, producers exchanged glances. This wasn't scripted. Meghan was there to promote a new initiative, some kind of wellness foundation mixed with digital rebranding. But Kelly, she was veering off-road fast. Kelly leaned in. "You've talked a lot about authenticity lately, but I'm curious, do you ever feel like the version of Meghan we see on screen is a little too polished?" Meghan blinked. "I'm polished because I have to be. When you've been hunted by tabloids, painted as a villain, you learn to protect yourself." Kelly nodded but didn't retreat. "Sure, but sometimes polish looks a lot like performance." Meghan's fingers tightened around her mug. "And sometimes judgment looks a lot like envy." Boom. That wasn't in the promo. Audience vibe shifted. The audience began to stir. Phones subtly lifted. A woman in the third row mouthed, "This is about to explode." Kelly leaned back, smile now replaced by something else. A kind of steel. "You know, Meghan," she said softly, "this isn't Buckingham Palace. Here, people don't get silenced with smiles." That one stung. Meghan sat forward. "And here, I thought I was invited for a conversation, not a confrontation." Kelly, "Trust me, you'll know the difference." The tension was no longer simmering. It was on the verge of boiling, and the episode had only just begun. The silence following Kelly's sharp retort was deafening. For a moment, all Meghan could do was blink, rapidly. The camera didn't cut away. The audience didn't shift. The control room didn't dare cue music. This was no longer just an interview. This was a power struggle. Meghan composed herself with royal elegance. She gave a small smile, too tight, too rehearsed, and spoke, her voice level. "I didn't come here to argue, Kelly. I came here to talk about empowerment." Kelly's reply came fast. "Then maybe you should stop performing and start being real." Another gasp swept through the studio. This wasn't a scripted roast. It was live combustion. Panic in the booth. Backstage, a producer frantically scribbled on cue cards, whispering, "Cut to break." Another voice, "No, ratings are through the roof." And so the camera stayed locked. The stage a battleground. Kelly folded her hands calmly, but her words came with the precision of a scalpel. "You talk about being silenced, but let's be honest, you've had more airtime than anyone else in the royal family. Netflix, Spotify, your voice isn't silenced, Meghan. It's monetized." Meghan's jaw clenched. "And yet you still sit here," she shot back, "and reducing everything I've gone through to a headline, to a punchline." "I'm not reducing it," Kelly said. "I'm questioning it, because a lot of women out there don't have a platform. They don't have a $25 million podcast deal to talk about trauma." Boom. The studio lights felt hotter now. Meghan shifted in her seat, visibly agitated. Audience split. In the front row, a young girl in a Team Meghan hoodie clutched her phone. 2 seats over, a woman rolled her eyes. Whispers turned into murmurs. It was no longer clear who the audience was rooting for. Kelly wasn't done. "Let's talk about The Crown. Not the show, the one you walked away from. You say you left for peace, but here you are, still on stage, still fighting. Meghan leaned forward, fire in her eyes now. You don't get to decide how I heal, Kelly. You sing for a living. Don't pretend to understand royal survival. Kelly's lips curled into a grin. Sweetheart, surviving Hollywood is harder than surviving Windsor. At least here, we earn applause. We don't inherit it. The crowd erupted, half clapping, half gasping. The cracks show Meghan's voice rose for the first time. You think it was easy? Walking away from centuries of tradition? Being the first woman of color in that institution and having the world dissect your every move? I think, Kelly said calmly, it's a lot easier than pretending to be relatable while living in a $14 million mansion in Montecito. The words hit like glass on tile, sharp, shattering. Meghan looked off camera for the first time, perhaps toward her team, perhaps toward an invisible exit, but she didn't walk away. Not yet. Closing seconds of the segment. Kelly adjusted her microphone. This isn't personal. I admire strong women. I am one. But strength isn't branding. It's action. It's truth. It's showing up when you're uncomfortable, not just when the camera's flattering. Meghan nodded slowly. Then let's both be uncomfortable together. Gladly. And with that, the stage went silent again. Except this time, it wasn't from tension. It was from expectation. Everyone knew the next segment would decide everything, and neither woman looked ready to back down. The stage was no longer a stage, it was a battlefield. And while the audience expected a ceasefire after the commercial break, what they got was a full-blown storm, served piping hot under studio lights. Kelly returned from the break with a wry smile. We're back with Meghan Markle. Still here, still royal. Kind of. Laughter rippled through the audience, but Meghan didn't flinch. Not this time. I'll take kind of royal over kind of respectful any day, Meghan fired back, her tone deceptively calm. Kelly blinked. The gloves were off now, Chidimorntage drawn. I'm not sure why you agreed to this interview, Kelly said. It doesn't seem like you want to answer any real questions. I'm here to challenge the narrative, Meghan replied, to talk about what women face in institutions built by men, for men. And yet, Kelly quipped, you married into the most patriarchal institution in modern history, with a smile. Meghan leaned forward, her eyes locked onto Kelly's. Love isn't political. But PR is, Kelly said flatly. That one stung. Backstage chaos, Kelly's team was frozen. Meghan's handlers, watching off camera, were visibly distressed. One whispered, pull her if it gets worse. Another, too late. This is wildfire now. And wildfire it was. Royal receipts. Kelly pulled a card from her notes. Let's talk about your letter to the king, she said, holding up a printout. The one you leaked, then denied leaking. I never leaked anything, Meghan snapped, but it ended up in the press, perfectly timed, right when your Netflix special was dropping. That's called coincidence, Meghan said. That's called marketing, Kelly shot back. The audience gasped. Again. Meghan's eyes flared. You're twisting everything I say. Kelly smiled. No, Meghan. I'm just not letting it slide. Audience on edge. The studio audience was silent now, not tense, stunned. This wasn't late-night fluff. This was real. Raw, and no one, not even Meghan, seemed in control anymore. Meghan took a breath, her voice lower now. You keep suggesting I'm fake, that I'm calculating. But I'm just trying to tell my story. And I'm just asking, Kelly said, why your story always makes you the victim. A wave of discomfort rolled through the room. Meghan's voice cracked just slightly. Because sometimes I was. Kelly paused, and for a brief second, the air softened, but not for long. Then say it without the script, Kelly said. Say something that's not polished, not prepped, not approved. Meghan stared at her, then turned to the audience. I was suicidal during my first pregnancy, alone, unprotected. I asked for help and was told it would damage the crown. The audience fell utterly silent. Kelly swallowed hard. This wasn't in any prep notes, not even hinted. Meghan continued, voice steady now. But the real damage? It's pretending none of it happened, pretending I wasn't drowning just because I smiled on camera. A moment of silence. Even Kelly didn't speak. Then, Kelly exhaled. That, that was real. Something shifts. For the first time, Meghan smiled, genuinely. You want it unfiltered? She asked. There it is. Kelly nodded. Finally. But then Meghan stood up, slowly, deliberately. I came here for honesty, not hostility, and now I've given it, so I'm done. The audience gasped again. You're leaving? Kelly asked. Meghan looked her dead in the eyes. I was never really invited, just provoked. She turned and walked toward the backstage exit, heels echoing across the studio floor. End of segment. Kelly turned to the audience, unsure whether to speak. She looked into the camera, shrugged lightly, and muttered, well, that was awkward. Fade to black.